May the words of my mouth and the meditations of all of our hearts be acceptable to you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Please be seated. At some point, I have to tie my shoe, and I don't know if I should do it now or if I should do it after, but actually, I'm just going to do it right now. So, one second. This is a gospel about finding things that are lost, looking for things that are not there. And I have a great story about something that was lost. Years ago at the church where I served in Los Angeles, we used the parking lot right next to the church, but it didn't belong to the church. It actually belonged to the elementary school on the other side of the parking lot. And we were able to use it, which was fantastic. Sundays, all day, weekend nights, weekday nights, they were really gracious about it. There was only one thing that when I began, they gave me the key for the parking lot, and they said, you can never lose this key. And it said on it, LAUSD, there was a number on it, do not duplicate. And apparently one of the priests before me had lost the key, and it was a huge deal. They threatened to take away our parking altogether. So I was really, really careful about the key until I wasn't. One Monday morning, I woke up, the key was not where it was supposed to be. And I didn't panic, but I panicked a little bit. I didn't want to be the person responsible for losing our parking. So I looked where I sat in the church, I looked in my house, I looked in my office, I looked in everywhere I could look. And that week, the better part of the week, I spent being the shepherd, looking for that sheep. Or probably more to the point, being the woman looking for the coin everywhere, turning everything upside down. And when I wasn't actively looking, my eyes were passively scanning to see if I could find that key. Come Friday, I had not found the key, and so I dreaded the thing that no one ever wants to do, to go to the principal's office. Sorry, Mr. Smith. And tell her I had lost your fancy schmancy key and beg for her forgiveness to allow us to continue to use the parking lot. And walking out of my house literally that morning on the way to the school, there was the key. It was under a bush, half submerged in some dirt, and it was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Because in that moment, that key completed me. It was the one thing I had been looking for, and I had found it. And it gave me a sense of how God sees you and me. We are so beautiful to God. We look so amazing to God. God is so happy with us. And we have been created. Imagine that. We have been created out of nothing. The nothingness of space brought together by the divine will, who wanted us to be the people we are, who loves us, the quirks we have, the personalities we carry, the good things within us, all the challenges we face. God looks at us with so much love. I took that key, I dusted it off, I put it over my shoulders, I brought it home, and of course, a couple months later, I went to the school and I told the principal what had happened, and she said, "No, people lose those keys all the time. That's not a problem. You would have been fine." But it was a great thing because it reminded me of how God feels about me, how God feels about us. And this comes up in the gospel, this notion of searching and seeking, because Jesus is looking at the Pharisees and he's using them as an example. He's saying to the Pharisees, you do not see God. And what has happened is that Jesus has, at some point he was eating, and some sinners and tax collectors came up to eat with him. And instead of sending them away, instead of calling them dirty sinners, instead of judging them or being cruel to them, Jesus looked at them with his eyes, with the eyes of God, and he saw them as people. He saw them as human beings. He didn't put them in this box, the sinner's box, the bad box, the evil box. He saw them as human beings, and the Pharisees objected to that. And they were upset. And we could be tempted to say, well, what's wrong with those Pharisees? How dare they judge someone? But we do it ourselves. We do it all the time. All the time, human beings are putting other people into these boxes of sinners or dirty or homeless. Think about the horrible thing that happened with Charlie Kirk this week. That horrible thing. And that happened because someone saw him not as a human being, but as a set of ideologies or beliefs. And what happens when we no longer see each other as human beings is that we are easily in this position of just throwing people out into the trash or dismissing them. And Jesus is inviting the Pharisees and inviting us to look for God in people, to look for the holiness of life in every single person. This week I had a wonderful meeting with Fran and Neil Hook, who many of you know. Fran and Neil are, I think Neil's just over 100 and Fran's just under 100. They haven't been here for a while, and they're doing okay. You know, they're slowing down, which is what you expect if you're about 100. And they may be watching, so I'll be careful what I say. But what great people. And Fran this week shared with me this incredible ministry that she had participated in called Kairos, which is a ministry that came out, people in Trinity had participated in the past. And Kairos is a prison ministry where you go into the prison for a weekend and you work with these people, and it's a ministry of praise, of prayer, of fellowship. And what Fran said is that again and again, she saw God in these transformations in people. She didn't want to start this ministry. She didn't want to participate. When she was first invited by the priest here, she said, I don't want to go, you know, it's a prison, and you know who's in prison? Prisoners. And you know what that's like. But the priest was convincing, so she went, and it changed her life. And she talked about seeing God again and again. And in particular, there's one gentleman she talked about who she knew had been a gang member in Los Angeles. He had killed someone. He walked in, and he was, you know, like hard as nails, distant, cold, keeping everyone at a distance, angry. And she said by the end of the weekend, he cried so hard on her shoulder that he drenched her blouse with his tears. Because he found God. Because God found him. And because she was part of that, she saw God. And it is this incredible experience that one has when one sees God in this place where one had not seen God. I don't know if you've had that experience, but it's just absolutely amazing. And it often happens in people. So this is really, for me, a great reminder that we do not have to be Pharisees of our day and just see people in these boxes, but we can look for God in every single person. Because God is looking for us. And it's also really, for me, a wonderful reminder of the whole notion of finding God. We can't just assume that God is going to come to us all the time. We also have to go find God. We have to look for God. And I think what happens in the spiritual life of a person who's been doing this for a while is that you do the same thing, and sometimes what you've been doing leaves you a little bit dry. There are dry spells in the spiritual life. I don't know if you've ever had that. I would assume most of you had at some point. A dry spell. Where you come here and, yeah, there's a statue. You know, we're in his house, but you're not feeling it the way you used to feel it. Maybe you're feeling a disconnect. Maybe you're ready for more. And what happens is, just like in any relationship, in your marriage, in your relationship with your kids, if you're looking for that other person to do all the work, well, good luck. My wife's not going to do all the work in this relationship. I've got to do my part as well. But the problem is that it's hard to search. Think about that shepherd. The shepherd has to get up at like 3 in the morning to find that one sheep. The shepherd has to walk through every hill, every pasture, the highs, the lows, looking for a sheep who may not even want to be found. Think about that widow, to turn on the light and turn everything upside down in your house until you find that one thing. In our spiritual lives, sometimes we are just so content to say, well, you know, I know God. I feel his presence. I know his love, but we're not really, really feeling it. So we have to search. We have to look. There's another story about a man who was in his kitchen opening the cupboards and the drawers, and his wife came in and said, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm looking for my car keys." And she said, did you lose your car keys in the kitchen? He said, no, I lost them in the backyard, but there's a lot more light here in the kitchen for me to look. Which is a reminder, we need to look for God where God is found. The more time I watch YouTube, the more time I watch social media, the less I see God. I mean, I hate to say it. I'm an old man at this point, I guess, in my life. But there's so many places out there where I don't see God's presence. God is found not in hate language. God is found not in these boxes that we put people in. God is found not in the divisiveness of our popular politics right now. God is found in togetherness. God is found in moments of love. God is found in this incredible interaction between an 80-year-old woman and a young gang member. When they come together at this point of connection through the power of Jesus Christ, God is found there. God is found when we bend. God is found when we forgive. God is found when we enter the world looking for goodness. God is found. How much time do we spend looking for God in the same things that we've been doing again and again, which no longer feed us? Well, God is found in new things as well. So my prayer for us this week, what this gospel is talking to me about is the idea that I'm going to do one new thing, one new spiritual thing in my life. I don't know yet what it is, but one thing. What if we tried one new thing, one new place to look for God, one new prayer technique, one new event to go to, one new Bible passage to read, one thing, because we can't stop looking. As much as you love God, as much as you know Him, as you know Jesus, there's always that possibility of a deeper, more profound relationship. There's always a possibility that you will not be left looking, but you will know at some point this week what it's like to be that key, the most valuable thing in God's eyes. And sometimes we just have to look for that. So let's close this with a bit of prayer. God, sometimes you are right here, and we bless you for that. And sometimes we look for you, we don't see you, we don't hear you, we don't find you. But we'll keep looking. Encourage us in our spiritual life to keep looking for you. Encourage us to grow. Encourage us to let aside these boxes of categories that we put other people into, and to find through these categories the living presence of Christ in other people and in our own lives. And give us this week a true appreciation for the connection of finding that one thing that makes us complete. May we find that thing within you and within our lives this week. And give us, above all things, us and our nation, your peace. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Amen.